Hey guys, I haven't made a video in a while because I've lost the charger from my camera, so I'm back to using my phone. I got a question on my page and I want to answer it because I've been sending kind of similar messages over the past few months, so I said I'd address it in the video. Basically asking if you're taking too much protein, if using supplements or eating too much protein is going to damage your health in any way, shape or form. And I'll paraphrase the question because it's quite long, but basically it says at the minute I'm training twice a day, 4 times a week, gym sessions in the morning and pitch sessions in the evening, GAA and soccer. So quite a lot of training, intense training there, gym and endurance sports on the side. And she's asking if her protein intake is too high because she takes a scoop right after training and also has 2 boiled eggs for breakfast and has a protein source with all her meals through the day. And I've replied to this privately, but I feel it's something that other people can benefit with. Basically, your body has its energy sources that it prefers to use for training and for athletic ability. When you eat carbohydrates, obviously the carbohydrate gets converted into glucose. I've talked about this before. Regardless of the speed, whether it's oats you're eating or jelly babies or sweets that have sugar, the carbohydrate will eventually get converted into glucose. At what speed will determine on the spikes on insulin levels, but it all gets converted into glucose and your body uses that for energy. And that is one of the preferred sources that it uses. It actually prefers to use ketones. So if you cut carbohydrates from your diet completely and just take in essential fatty acids and essential amino acids from protein, your body will actually use ketones for energy, and it prefers to do that. It's actually because you don't run out. When you have glucose and carbohydrates in your system, your body would burn through it and it'll eventually run out, whereas ketones, your body just keeps producing them. So it's actually a better energy source, but a really difficult diet to follow. Very hard to get your body into ketosis. You literally have to drop your carbohydrates below 30 grams for 3 or 4 days before your body will drop into ketosis. But in terms of having too much protein, the worst case scenario for somebody that's training 4 times a week at the intensity that you're doing is your body will break down the protein for glucogenesis and use that as its energy source. So if your carbohydrates are too low and your protein is too high, your body will burn through the protein and use it for energy. It's not ideal. Your body doesn't really want to use protein for energy. It would prefer obviously a glucose source or glycogen or carbohydrate. So my advice to you would be to make sure that you're keeping your carbohydrates higher than your protein. If you're following and doing a really intense program like this and your protein's really high and your fats are high and your carbohydrates are low, I recommend bumping up your carbohydrates a little bit just because you're not going to store it as body fat. When you're training twice a day, 4 times a week, your body is going to burn through that like a furnace. The carbohydrates are just going to provide you with energy. So keep your carbohydrates high. Like they recommend 2-3 grams per kilo of per pound of body weight, and protein about half that. So between 1 gram and 1.5 grams per kilo per pound of body weight. So that's a pretty good recommendation, but have a play with it. Try and time all your carbohydrates around your training sessions. If you're training with weights, make sure your carbohydrates are timed post-workout so that your body just uses the carbohydrates and the glycogen as recovery. On days when you're playing football or GAA or soccer or any whatever sport it is you play, keep your carbohydrates high throughout the day because you're going to be burning through that glycogen regardless. If you're playing a 90-minute match, your body's going to have to tap into its glycogen stores. So you want to have its carbohydrates so it can first burn through the ones you've eaten that day, and then it'll tap into the glycogen stores, and then it'll burn through into body fat. But you don't want to go into that if you're a performance athlete. You want to stay using glucose and glycogen as your main source, using carbohydrate as your fuel, because body fat and protein, when it breaks down to glucogenesis, isn't a good source to use for athletic performance. So I hope this question helps. Hopefully it benefits more of you guys, because I've got this question or a variation or kind of a version of this question over the last couple of months. So I hope this helps. Any questions, just message me in my inbox. I'm able to get back more. I had about 70 messages that I hadn't replied to, so I spent the morning replying to them. So hopefully if I haven't messaged you back, I'll do so later on today. All right.